Being compliant is not equivalent to being able to demonstrate compliance, and generally compliance to a standard needs to be demonstrated annually. That's where the process of collection, storage, protection of evidence for the controls and activities performed required for compliance come in. The evidence you collect should be directly related to the compliance requirement you are trying to meet, and it should provide enough information to allow an assessor to test and document any findings. The timing of your collection of evidence also generally has an impact on your demonstrating compliance at a later date and on the efficiency of the process you are gathering evidence on. What do I mean by that? Well, collecting your evidence straight after an activity rather than allowing weeks or months to go by will allow for an opportunity to review what is collected and ensure that it meets the defined requirement. If not, you will have a chance for remediating the issue before it is too late. For example, PCI DSS compliance requires quarterly vulnerability scanning with 4 passing scans over the previous 12 months to be assessed, unless this is your first time undergoing a compliance check. There are rules around what is acceptable in the way of results in order to pass, such as no high risk or critical issues and nothing over a CVSS score of 4.0 or higher being identified. Essentially, you need a passing vulnerability each quarter to comply. So your evidence will need to demonstrate a scan was done every 90 days and that they were passing scans. However, what if your systems are automated when it comes to scanning and no one checked the evidence and it turns out one of the scans doesn't meet compliance? Depending on which quarter's scans failed to comply, that could have devastating consequences to your overall compliance, with impacts starting from 90 days onwards. Obviously, gathering your evidence immediately after a scan and checking it for compliance would stop any such issues eventuating down the track when it becomes too late to meet your compliance date. Generally, evidence will include documentation like policies and procedures, interviews, samplings, observations that are documented. Documentation will more than likely make up the largest part of your evidence, so make sure it is dated, approved, and up to date. In the way of an example, there is a requirement that you review your firewall rules at a specific point during a compliance year, and that they are approved by appropriate people, maybe by the minutes of a meeting showing that a review took place with the right parties present, would be a good piece of evidence to put away for the assessor. Most standards will also require an evidence retention time, as may some regulatory requirements. So your evidence retention process should include safeguards to prevent tampering or destruction of the evidence, along with keeping it secure in the first place. An ISMS may be useful for ensuring that. Once again, being compliant is not the equivalent to being able to demonstrate compliance, and generally compliance to a standard needs to be demonstrated annually. So focus a little bit more on evidence gathering and validation. Once again, if you have any questions that you want answered, please feel free to post a comment or get in touch with us, and we'll try to make it a subject of a later episode. Thanks for watching.